Chapter 14. The Volga River. The Warlord and his companions, the Polo Brothers, Prester John the spurious holy man, and Rembald du Voczon, the Knight Templar, along with their party, are being pursued across the great steppe lands, heading for Samara on the eastern bank of the Volga. It was one of those rare nights. The forest was quiet and still, and only the sound of our horses disturbed the peace. We exited the darkness of the tree line and emerged into the small clearing. Akos, my faithful mount, breathed heavily as I pulled him up, and I heard his hooves squelch in the soft, rain-drenched ground. The moon hung in the sky just there, a gigantic red and staggeringly low moon. It hung there on the very edge of night, and it felt as if you could touch it by simply raising a finger. It filled the whole night, flooding the world with its presence and strange tint. I studied it with a long gaze as the other riders passed me. The men rode in single file, each man leading 2 or 3 horses. Most of the pack horses were heavily laden with large wooden crates, which were fastened to either side of the animals to maintain balance. Prester John and the Templar reined in beside me. The 3 of us sat silently contemplating that moon. The Templar raised his hand and made a grab for the moon. The Prester laughed loudly and shook his head in disbelief. "Fool!" Sir Rembald smiled softly as he soothed Hades, his pale mare, whispering soothingly to her as he patted her neck. The tension that had grown between us over the last few days was broken. It was one of his many skills, and a rare one. "The sun will turn to darkness, and the moon to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord shall come," quoted Prester John. "Indeed, holy man, but is this not also a sign that some great change is also coming?" I asked. The Prester smiled as he loosened and removed his helm. He dragged a cloth square across his sweaty, bald head. "Oh, my friend, the scriptures, they say that the blood moon occurs as a sign that the end of days is upon us. I think there can be no bigger change to our world than that. It is an omen," he spat on the ground, "and one that is known for the storms that often accompany it, storms like the one we encountered this afternoon. And yet, we 3 knew we were damned long ago, did we not?" He smiled his crooked, yellow-toothed smile at me and replaced his helm. Then he kicked his horse onto a trot and followed the men as they re-entered the forest at the far side of the clearing. "In my country, it would be considered a good omen, and the gods know how much we need one," said the Templar in his matter-of-fact way, before he followed the holy man across the clearing. I stroked Akos's neck as I stared at that dark red moon. I regarded it for a few more moments, then reached to touch it. I cursed under my breath at my stupidity and flicked my heels onto Akos's flanks, urging him onwards again. I rode steadily under the shadow of that blood moon and stared blankly at the night. Time seemed to stretch ahead of me as my thoughts tumbled over each other like a child's boat in a mountain stream. It seemed to take me an eternity to cross that clearing, yet in reality only a few moments had passed before I again entered the dark forest. The forest stretched along the edge of the lowlands bordering the Volga River. The country was wild, and that hid our passage from those eyes that searched after us. Now and again, I could have sworn that I felt her gaze fall upon me. Occasionally, I thought that I saw her face in the shadows. She seemed to laugh at me from the darkness there. At other times, I could feel her eyes crawling across my skin, eyes that were hunting us, hunting me, Wu's eyes. And soon, without any given command but by a common urgency, we all began to move just that little bit faster, until after only a few heartbeats, we were racing along the dark road, under the shade of the trees, as if the devil himself were chasing us. Akos lay his ears up as the wolves howled for the first time that night. The hunt was on again. I had counted that we were now only a company of 10 and 8. The Templar, Prester John, their knights, the Italian brothers, Lady Jew, who carried the baby, and myself. We had 20 and 1 extra horses, and they carried the boxes. But each night we lost another horse and sometimes 2 to those damned wolves, or they fell, broken-legged, to the roots of this eternal dark forest. We had fled Old Cathey, an organized, purposeful unit. We had ridden with pride in our gleaming armor. There had been 40 of us then, and a further 20 and 8 horses. In truth, it had been a long, hard journey. Months had passed, and we had not yet reached the halfway point. And as we fled, we had perished, and we had perished, and we had perished again. And still, I had expected that too. Please press the like icon. It really helps with the algorithm. Click subscribe to be notified of further installments. You can find more information and other videos at mortalcritters.com. The Mortal Critters ebook is available at Amazon, and the paperbacks are available at all good bookstores.